and welcome back to Football Made Simple. Defending champions Real Madrid are currently third in La Liga, 6 points behind their crosstown neighbours Atletico Madrid. Despite being right in the league title race, it hasn't been a vintage season from Los Blancos, with many highs and lows, but still, Zidane's men find themselves in contention for the league as well as the Champions League. But what tactics has Zidane been implementing? Let's take a look. Zinedine Zidane is unlike most top managers who have a well-defined tactical ideology. Zidane places more faith in the quality of his players by allowing them to express themselves as well as utilizing his excellent man management. This has been emphasized this season with almost every major player aside from Courtois, Varane and Ferland Mendy missing from injury at some point this season, making it hard for them to find a consistent first 11. So, we'll focus more on the general principles he has tried to implement regardless of the personnel. But the injuries have meant he hasn't had a fixed formation. In the league, it has primarily been a 4-3-3 used 19 times. The 4-2-3-1 and 4-4-2 diamond have also been popular, but in his most recent matches, the back three has come into play. But let's focus on the vastly used 4-3-3, with the most commonly selected first 11 being as such, with Carvajal struggling with injury, meaning that Vázquez has moved deeper, and Marcelo now firmly no longer being the first choice left back. Let's begin with the build-up play. Zidane's side are one of the more possession-oriented in the league, with only Sevilla and Barcelona averaging more than their 58%. Whilst under pressure, we do at times see Courtois look for Benzema long, as the wingers generally lack any aerial presence, whilst the midfield has dropped deeper to support. But when they do look to go short, Courtois will look to find Ramos whenever possible and not Varane. We see this with Ramos having the second most touches per 90 for the team with 86, whilst Varane only has 65. This is simply because Ramos is a lot better on the ball than Varane and is key to the build-up and progression on the ball. This is particularly the case when in deeper areas, teams look to cut off Modric and Kroos early as they dictate the pace for the team. When comparing progressive passes and passes into the final third for the two men, this is evident. This is why when Ramos has been injured, Real have struggled badly out of possession, but in possession as well, as Nacho ranks even lower than Varane in the on-the-ball metrics. This then places more strain on the midfield to drop deeper in these first phases, taking the whole team further away from the opponent's goal and leading to a slower build-up. This is why on a couple of occasions, when building in the back three, Ferland Mendy has been used at left centre-back, as he helps to progress the ball higher up the pitch. But generally, in the build-up phase, Toni Kroos is the key, with both fullbacks pushing higher. Although teams may look to use a rough man-to-man structure in the midfield, Kroos drops deeper into the left-back zone during the build-up initially, which then allows Mendy to use his attacking instinct to push higher up the pitch. And by having better deep progressors on the left in Kroos, Ramos and Mendy, only Eibar and Osasuna use the left-hand side more often than Real Madrid. If the midfielder looks to follow him, it leaves a gaping hole here, and we can see a winger then look to pick up the ball in the inside channel. Benzema also operates as a false 9, particularly in the initial phases, and can look to drop into that space to receive. If the winger faces up Kroos instead, this means Mendy and Vinicius have a 2 versus 1 higher up the pitch, where they can look to combine to attack the box. Moving higher up the pitch, this shape continues to cause opposition problems due to the overload. As a result, their team is often dragged across, and Kroos has excellent long passing range and will look to switch the ball out to Asensio, or more commonly the advancing Vázquez when Asensio tucks in. And here we see one of Real's major problems, as they do get wide in space often, and in fact attempt the 6th most crosses per game. However, in cases like this, Benzema is the only viable aerial threat, as the likes of Rodrigo, Asensio and Vinicius don't often get on the end of a cross. As a result, Benzema has the most headed goals for the team, aside from Casemiro, who we'll get into in a moment. The problem does go deeper than just not getting into the box for crosses, as they struggle to get into the box or to get shots off, as they would all rather be just outside the box looking to create. Benzema attempts almost 4 shots per game, whilst none of the most commonly used wingers attempt even half of that number. As a result, Benzema has 17 goals, whilst Vinicius, Rodrigo and Asensio combined for 6 in the league. But when Real attack through the centre, the midfield is of course crucial. We tend to see Modric or Valverde look to initially push higher up into the right half space to look to provide additional creativity. They have more freedom to operate across the width of zone 14, particularly when Kroos stays much deeper. But it should be noted that Zidane allows for rotation, especially between Modric and Casemiro. We do often see teams look to track Kroos deeper, forcing the majority of on-the-ball actions to come from Casemiro. And on these occasions, we will instead see Modric drop deeper to get on the ball instead to do this, whilst Casemiro pushes higher. And it should be noted from these higher regions, Casemiro is aggressive, the sole midfielder who is willing to make runs into the box alongside Benzema to get on the end of something. In fact, only Benzema attempts more shots per game than Casemiro, with the majority of them being inside the box. Let's touch on the defensive end of things. Generally, early on in the season, Real were big proponents of counter-pressing after losing the ball, particularly down the left when they attacked in this shape, as they had the natural overload to apply pressure. This would at times lead to them winning the ball back quickly and then looking for a quick attacking transition. But they could also be vulnerable, as the aging legs of the midfield were at times slow to get tied to a man. In addition, with both fullbacks high, there was a lot of space for opponents to exploit on the counter, despite Kroos being in a position to cover. This is also partly the reason why they moved to a back three in recent matches to help deal with the threat of the counter. But now, at times, they look to get into a more disciplined shape after losing possession, often deeper into the default 4-3-3. But Modric also tends to push up alongside Benzema to create a 4-4-2, and they stay compact, making it difficult to progress through the centre. As a result, Real's passes per defensive action are fairly middling in La Liga. These are just a few of the principles that Zidane looks to utilize. It will be interesting to see how they close out the season, as it could quickly become a quite disappointing one if they win neither the league nor Champions League. But I want to know down in the comments below, what else have you noticed about Zidane's team?
A special shout out to everyone who's been able to support Football Made Simple on Patreon so far. If you want to help the channel, I'd love it if you considered supporting on patreon.com/footballmadesimple, and you'll get perks like early access to videos, exclusive content, and so much more.
But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.